Welcome to In the Studio, everyone. Hope you're all doing very well. I really think using your time wisely is extremely important. We don't always have time to sit down and make music for hours upon hours. So when you only have a short amount of time, I really try and focus on little tasks here and there that will, hopefully set me up for success when I do have time to sit down and be creative for a longer chunk of time. This could be anything from organizing your samples to learning new plugins, watching tutorials, designing patches in your software synthesizers or hardware synths. So that way, when the creativity is flowing and you're in the zone, you can grab these things that you've already worked on and just kick on with what you're doing. So that's what I'm going to do here today. I'm going to try to design a bass patch in Massive that I can maybe use in a future project. So what I like to do sometimes is I just have a kick and a little top loop here, just so I have kind of something to work to, just a simple little groove to work to. And then sometimes what I'll do is just grab, in this case I just grabbed the 3X OSC here, and I just, tapped out a little rhythm using a basic sine wave. So here it is. Super simple, but I really do find that having like a little rhythm to design your patch to, especially basses, can kind of streamline the process for me. So what I'm going to do now is just swap this 3X OSC out for Massive. Okay, I'm going to go File, New Sound, and I'm going to set up the oscillators first. So I want this to be just a nice rounded, kind of juicy bass line. So I'm going to select the square saw for the first oscillator. I'm going to enable the other two, and I'm just going to keep these on saw waves as well. So this one I might just pitch down by an octave, and then I'm going to detune this by just 5 cents here, and I'm going to enable oscillator 3, which is already on. I pull this one down by an octave, but detune this one the other way by 5 cents. So I'm just going to actually enable this low pass filter here so we don't get that crazy harsh buzzy sound right off the get. And let's see what we got here. Okay, so one thing to note, if you're using multiple oscillators, so if you just added another oscillator here, and you kept it at the same pitch or didn't change anything, that's not making it better. If you're going to use more than one oscillators, you need to change them, whether it's detuning them or playing them at a different pitch, or you can change the phase. If you don't alter it in some way, then you're just effectively just doubling the volume, so you might as well just turn up the synth. So if you use multiple oscillators, you need to make changes to the oscillators, especially if they're the same waveform. You need to make changes to them. Okay, so we have 3 saw waves doing their thing. I might just play with the amplitudes here on these a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to head over to envelope 1 here, and because I want this to be kind of a nice rounded sound, I'm going to switch the envelope type here if you go click this little drop down, there's some alternate envelope curves here. Yeah, that's the one I'm after right there. So I'm just going to go ahead and play around with this for a second while it's playing back to see if I can get the right sound. So I'm going to drop that on the cutoff, and we're going to modulate that with this envelope. I'm going to give this some resonance. Okay. Might even change some of these kind of curve types here. Like that one. Just gonna solo this for a second. I'm gonna head over to our amplitude envelope here. Might just increase the release a little bit. And then what I can do here, that's not bad. Okay, so what I might do is use another envelope here to, so I'm going to stack envelopes. I'm going to use this to modulate the cutoff a little bit as well, just to give it a little bit more movement. So I'm just going to kick this up by just a little bit here, not very much at all. I'm going to increase this one for a second, envelope 1. Yeah. You hear what that's doing? So I'm going to mute this without it. Yeah. Just add some subtle extra movement there. Kind of brings it a little bit more to life. Okay, so now what we can do is maybe make this a little bit more playable, a little bit more interesting. And when I recorded this in originally, you can see there's some variations in the velocity. So I'm going to use the velocity here, velocity macro, to make some more movement in this little patch here. So I'm going to drop the velocity onto the sustain here, and we'll kick this up a little bit. So the higher velocity values will have a little bit more sustain. Here at an extreme, we're going to turn this amount down. This definitely takes some fiddling and trial and error and just experimenting, you know. And sometimes it doesn't even work at all. But you got to try. And, you know, frequent breaks is definitely key as well. Your ears, you know, really get used to a repeating sound very quickly. So if it's not working, you can't get it right, just take a break. So yeah, I think a little bit of variation on the sustain right here is nice. And I'm also going to drop the velocity onto the resonance, and I'm going to pull it down a little bit so the louder velocities or the higher velocity values will have a little bit less of the resonance. And then I'm going to drop it on the cutoff as well, and I'm going to kick that up just a tickle there, so the louder velocities will open up the filter a little bit more than the lower values. Okay. Okay, so now let's add some effects. So I'm going to try some delay here. So I'm just going to grab the sync delay, and I might just go Well, let's experiment here a little bit. I'm just going to go for maybe a 16th. And then I'm going to put this kind of in its own space here, so let's go with the dimension expander. Let me kick up the size a little bit. And you'll notice that is much wider, which is fine. You just need to make sure that, you know, in the mix at some point you make sure that it's not too wide, and you can always, you know, mono anything below a certain frequency if you need to, or just make a copy of the synth and then, you know, take off the spatial effects, and you can layer in a lower, you know, filtered down mono version of it too, just to make sure you're maintaining mono compatibility. But I mean, this isn't bad here. I might tweak it a little bit more and play with it, but I just thought I would show you how I would do it for real. You know, I didn't plan this or try it out, and this just, yeah, what came out. Not bad. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Leave me a comment or question, and I'll catch you soon. Cheers.